What is going on, everybody? It is Thursday night, and it's PAT, and you are here with Grindberg and Mad Dog. What is going on, everybody? Mad Dog, what is going on tonight? Tell everybody what's going on with you and what you're up to these days.
Yo, what's going on, man? Thanks for having me on. I got some big shoes to fill. Your usual
Literally, it's
co-host
big.
here, yeah, Biggs, he's gone, man. So I gotta pull the weight here. Yeah, you can catch me mostly with Dynasty Degens and Player Profiler now. I just started my new show, The Mad Market Value, where I talk about buys and sells throughout the season for your Dynasty teams.
Awesome.
And here we go. Here's Jamie.
Yeah, Jamie is always around, and Pat Fryermuth just tied up this game, and it looks like the Steelers are going to be taking a head start here, headed into the 2-minute warning. As I thought, okay, maybe we'll just start this up. It didn't look like it was going to be a tie game or anything heading into overtime, but we always got Jamie here. Biggs, you lost some weight and shade, looking good. You are looking good, and I don't know if you noticed what's going on here as we got a battle of the Canadian hockey teams on our caps and got a couple of full Canadians after a nice Thanksgiving dinner. How was your Thanksgiving there, Mad Dog?
It was good, man. I was on shift, but I luckily got home and got to spend time with the family, and it was great. It's kind of peak season for kids' activities, adding on to football, so it was good to just sit down and pause life for a bit.
Yeah, I hear you, man. I was in the same boat, and that extra day off was nice, and I was able to have a short week. So, yeah, shout out to Jamie, who is recognizing your work on Player Profiler Now and the Degens, and I'm very familiar with Player Profiler Now. I used to do a lot of work with them. I got my start there, so shout out to them and everybody over there on Player Profiler. What is going on here, and what do you think is going to happen in this game there, Mad Dog? Are we looking at potential comeback here and victory by the Bengals? I mean, Joe Flacco looking like his former MVP Super Bowl himself. What are your thoughts here on him so far?
Man, he looks good. He looks great. He looks rejuvenated. I mean, whenever you have Jamar Chase that you can throw 20 plus targets to in a game, I think that's gonna ignite your passion for the game a little bit more. So I do think that the Bengals are going to score on this last drive. We are going to miss out on some free football.
Yeah, but you know what? Maybe some fantasy points will pile up here for, those that are looking at Jamar Chase, who is back to his wide receiver one status after being paired up with Joe Flacco now. I mean, it's obvious that he was hyper targeting him tonight. I think he's got 14 receptions at this stage already in the game, and maybe piling on. Yeah, 14 for 128 and 16 targets. T. Higgins with 9 targets, 5 for 68 and a touchdown, and Chase Brown. We were hoping that Chase Brown would come back, and look at what happened here. 10 for 106. His efficiency, that was his biggest problem here, was that efficiency, that old line. Looked like Joe Flacco was just another guy here in command in his second game. Super tough to come into a new offense, but that veteran, he's been in how many offenses now? What a great situation for both these guys. Flacco and Rodgers both seem rejuvenated. Absolutely. Love it. Love it. Love it. Love it. So Jamar Chase, is he back to wide receiver one overall now? I mean, Puka Nacua is looking great, but he's banged up now, and JSN is obviously looking like a smash at this game.
Absolutely, yeah. I think with Joe Flacco, we see Jamar Chase, right back up at the top. Joe Flacco, even though he is 40 years old, like he can sling the ball all over the field. He hasn't lost any velocity. He knows how to read defenses. I think Chase is going to be just fine for those dynasty and redraft owners that were maybe panicking a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, I was worried with the Drake Browning after the first couple starts, but really wheels up now with Joe Flacco, and he looks just poised to, maybe make a run here for this Cincinnati team, and you never know if they could pull this one out. You never know what could happen. That division is wide open. The Steelers are the front runner, obviously. The Browns don't look like they're going anywhere, and the Ravens, look at them right now, 1-5, and on their bye. Obviously, getting Lamar Jackson back will be a huge boost for them, but a lot of up in the air situations here, and the Bengals could position themselves, especially with a win tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. If they lost this game, they'd be, I think I heard on the game, they'd be 3.5 games back with this win, and they're only 1.5 games back of the division. And having Joe Flacco be this efficient and productive, it opens up that run game, which I think the Bengals need, so that you can't just see Jamar Chase get double teamed. And you're right, anything can happen. If they get Chase Brown going, this team can easily rip off a few wins.
Yeah, exactly, and that's a big thing is that you get that ground game going, and that is what can really turn some heads here. And 10 for 106, that's a big game here. Didn't even need to do a whole lot. He didn't get anything in the passing game. He was actually negative, but they didn't need him in the passing game when you got a guy like Jamar Chase commanding 20 targets. Joe Flacco throwing the ball 44 times so far, and this drive is still going. So a lot of juice left here in this battle of the 40 plus quarterbacks. Who would have thunk it?
I'm surprised they didn't. You hear them flex games all the time, but with the age of these quarterbacks, they either gave them 5-hour energies or they could have pumped that game earlier so that
Yeah,
they could actually
totally.
get some sleep, right? They're going to need they're going to need until next Monday to be able to recover from this.
We're going to need to next Monday to recover from this too, right? I mean, it's giving us some adrenaline boost here. So let's get into some of the action from this week that's coming up here. Some headlines, some news that we want to discuss as this game is wrapping up, and more people get into the chat as the game rolls in to finishing up here. So let's talk about storyline number one, and let's just get into Rashee Rice's return. Where do you see him headed in? Is he just going to be a set it and forget it guy right away? What's his upside? Top 10, top 20? Where do you see him coming out right out of the gate and finishing this year?
I do. Like, luckily his suspension was at the start of the year. That was kind of up in the air how he was, or how it was going to be determined where that came down, but he's not recovering from his injury anymore. He was at training camp. He's been able to be in team facilities. Like, I think he's going to hit the ground running, and he can easily be a top 15 wide receiver for me. I've always been high on him. I tried to acquire him as much as I could in the offseason. I think it's going to pay off for us. We saw in that Chiefs offense that he is a target hog and it revolves around him. What do you think?
Oh yeah, man, 100%. I think that coming from a Chiefs fan, obviously I'm a homer, but that aside, I see him coming in, and there's opportunity for the Chiefs to go out and get other guys. When the suspension was relevant, when things were going around with injuries, they didn't. They knew they had their superstar here in Rashee Rice, and I think he's going to just come in. He's at that power slot role, kind of like that Amon-Ra St. Brown, but a bit bigger. He can carry that load and get those yak yards as well. So I'm looking at him to really take this Chiefs offense to the next level and really bring back what we've already seen the start of this year with Patrick Mahomes. And I really see Patrick Mahomes coming now and propelling himself. He's going to finish as a top 5 quarterback. In my opinion, he's flirting with, top 3 status right now with his legs. I mean, he's got some rushing upside now. And if he can throw, 3 to 4 touchdowns a game on average, what's going to happen here. And that's Mahomes getting back to what he was 3 years ago when the likes of Tyreek Hill are around him. And it's going to be hard for defenses to narrow down on what they're doing. Now you got guys like Tyquan Thornton and Marquise Hollywood Brown who've had the opportunity to get featured roles, pushed into that and create that relationship with Mahomes. And now when they're in secondary pieces, Tyquan Thornton's going to open up the field for the deep ball, and he's not going to need to hold on. He's going to be, that sprinter, that route runner that's just going to be, hucking wind. But when in need, the ball's going to be there, and Mahomes is going to be all over. So yeah, I'm really high on this. I'm really high on my Chiefs in the second half of the season here, with the AFC looking pretty wide open. The Bills aren't looking great. There's no really perennial powerhouse right now. There's some vulnerabilities everywhere, and the Chiefs are finally getting healthy and back to full strength there. So I see a good opportunity here. So I love it.
Yeah, absolutely. And like you said, to some of the ancillary pieces, they're building that rapport with Patrick Mahomes. So when you get somebody like Rashee Rice back and you have a coach like Andy Reid that is such a talented offensive mind, it's just going to be fun to watch the Chiefs. I think they have to address a running game, whether that's Brees Hall or, we saw a little bit of rumors on Twitter today that A-Chain might pop up on trade talks. But if they go and add a piece like that, I think anybody is a net positive over Isaiah Pacheco right now.
Totally. Now, one of the biggest storylines or has been all week, and has been the play of Rico Dowdle. And now, which side of the fence are you on right now? Because people are talking about Chuba Hubbard getting, paid, and he's the guy with the paycheck. But we've seen what Callahan has done in the past, and he doesn't really feature anybody. He's not really, accustomed to just putting his laurels into anybody. Chuba Hubbard got his role. They paid Miles Sanders, so it's clear as day that that's not a situation. So Rico Dowdle coming off of 2 monster games, how do you go back to Chuba after that? In my opinion, so I mean, I think it's going to eat into some of the workload, obviously, but I think Rico is going to get the lion's share here.
Yeah, we always like to say that injuries aren't going to lose you your job, but this might be the case with Chuba Hubbard. I think that it is going to be maybe something like a 60-40 split for Dowdle taking the majority, but Chuba might slowly get worked in because you have that option now with the way Dowdle's been performing. But I think this is going to be interesting come the offseason what the Panthers are going to do with these 2 running backs.
Yeah, exactly. And rest of season here. Jamie coming in on the chat, he's like 14 yards short to win my Metcalf over bet. Yeah. We were hoping for a bit bigger of a game there from Metcalf. I mean, everything was there for him. I mean, he did look pretty good honestly, but that like, especially early on, but yeah, certainly not what we were expecting here. Pat Freiermuth coming out of nowhere, coming up with a monster game here. 4 for 106 and 2. Jonnu Smith 3 for 28. Arthur Smith is back and ruining our fantasy lineups once again. Where do you go from here?
Oh man, Arthur Smith has to feel like Thanos right now, getting 3 of his tight ends touchdowns in tonight's game. I really thought that DK was going to have a massive game against his Bengals defense, but moving forward, I think that DK was a sell after you saw those 2 massive games. I don't know if they can continue to replicate it. They like to establish a run, but with Arthur Smith, you kind of always have to worry what he's going to do with that offense. And tonight he's just spreading the ball out, and it doesn't seem like he's too keen on having one alpha for Rodgers.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the thing. I mean, Rodgers is known to be able to spread the ball as well. He can hyper targeted wide receivers, but DK Metcalf isn't known to be a target earner. He's more of a guy that's a deep threat that can get those contested catches. He's not one to earn those targets in the short to intermediate routes. So yeah, like a Devontae Adams who could play, all ends of the field. So I don't see that being a situation. And like we've seen today, he's spreading the ball out to his tight ends, and Arthur Smith's plan is coming together like a mastermind. But unfortunately for the Steelers, it won't pan out tonight because it looks like the Bengals are going to be wrapping this one up with that last minute field goal here, unless a miracle happens. We've known to see that in the past, but yeah, luckily to see here the Bengals are back. Their playmakers are here. That was the biggest take tonight for me.
Yeah, absolutely the same thing. We always worry about the Bengals offensive line, kind of thought with not that we know Joe Burrow to be the most mobile quarterback, but he certainly can move better than Joe Flacco. And we proved it wrong that if they can have play calling and Joe Flacco can get that ball out quick, he has the elite targets to go out and sling it around for 30 plus points like he did tonight.
Yeah, exactly. So question for you, with wide receivers going down, like I haven't seen it like this for a long time, especially just targeting one position. Usually, it spreads it away, but we've been dealing with Tyreek Hill, Malik Neighbors, CeeDee Lamb, but last week was something else. Like losing guys like Garrett Wilson potentially this week and through the game, Emeka Ibuka, Puka Nakua, Calvin Ridley. There was a couple other ones there that I probably missed, and how are you dealing with that right now? In your fantasy lineups, like especially in redraft. I mean, obviously, in dynasty leagues, we talked about it before the show. A lot of our teams are either really powerhouse, strong, or rebuilds. Not many in between. So, as a redraft owner, how are you dealing with this? There's not much going on in the waiver wire, or and the trade landscape isn't great in redraft. We all know that
Mhm.
people are holding on to their cards. So, what's your advice?
That is what I suggest, because I think in redraft we tend to not worry so much about value, and we do worry about production. So hopefully you have some form of a positional advantage to try and make something work. Maybe you have a second quarterback that's
Yeah.
stashed, or you have running back depth. You really have to get creative to try and save your seasons at this point.
Yeah, exactly. And the other advice I would have too is kind of like you got to understand that you're not the only one that is dealing with this. All the managers are dealing with maybe one or two that are kind of leading the pack right now aren't dealing with those kind of injuries, but that could change in a drop of
Mhm.
a dime. You got to stay patient unless you're like a 1-5 or a 2-4 team. I would say, stay patient with your teams and just scrape away, try and do those trades, send offers to anybody that's willing to make a deal. Look at the teams that are 0-6, the 1-5s, the two and
Yep.
four teams, because those are the ones that are going to be wanting to make a move and be willing to take a hit if you need to, right? If you need that RB2 and you've got wide receiver 4 and he's a top 10 wide receiver or top 15 wide receiver, you may need to bite that bullet and change it up because your position security is often something that you need to fill. So yeah.
Yeah. And I think you're right. And that's kind of where you have to take the big swings on some of your trades. Like, we can argue that most of the rookie running backs aren't doing anything right now. Like, we have somebody like Michelle Tootin or Travion Henderson. Those might be guys that turn out to be somebody that saves your season come week 11, 12, and heading into playoffs. So don't be afraid to take risks. If you're down, what's it going to hurt, right? If your record is already low because you're decimated by injuries, take that swing and hopefully you can turn it around.
Yeah, exactly. And great advice. Now, let's talk a little bit about some matchups this week. What are some matchups that you're looking for to really exploit this week? I mean, we got a game here, the Commanders and Cowboys. I'm sure everybody's really circling that one with the large high point total. What are you looking for as a comeback for CeeDee Lamb in that one? Or are you looking for him to come back and just be a set it and forget it wide receiver one, especially from what we've seen from George Pickens? And then a tail question to that is, what do you expect from George Pickens, knowing that CeeDee Lamb is coming back? So what's your take on that Dallas Cowboys offense? And are both those guys going to be able to coexist as top 15 wide receivers each?
I think that CeeDee Lamb is going to be set it and forget it. I think the way the offense is rolling right now, they wouldn't bring him back if he wasn't 100% ready for it. I think Pickens has been serviceable. They've had Jake Ferguson. So CeeDee Lamb is going to come back and command all of the targets that he did prior to his injury. I do think that George Pickens takes a little bit of a hit. Maybe we just see more of those deep throws to him, and he might not be getting as much volume as we've seen the past few weeks. So I think CD comes in and takes his throne once again.
Yeah, I mean, I agree too, but I think that Dallas Cowboys defense is so bad that regardless of the situation, I think this is actually going to make the Dallas Cowboys better
Mhm.
and open things up for both these guys. What I thought when CeeDee Lamb was in the lineup earlier is that Dak wasn't having that connection with Pickens because it just hadn't formed yet, and it was kind of force fed to be. It blossomed, and now he's going to have that connection with both these wide receivers. So loving this connection and seeing what it could bring. And we got to remember that George Pickens is in a contract year here, so he's playing for the money. And there's going to be a lot of people, I'm assuming, that are going to be looking, or a lot of teams looking at George Pickens as a wide receiver one. So the chat's coming in here. People are flowing in. The game is over, and always lucking to see Albert in our chat room. And Vince has got a question for us. Should I do JSN for Puka on a 3-3 team? So I'd assume you're trying to deal JSN for Puka. That's what I got out of that. Is that what you got out of that there, the Mad Dog?
That's what I'm thinking. Yeah, is it just 1-for-1 trade like that, trying to acquire JSN?
Trying to acquire Jason. Yeah. Vince, are you trying to acquire Jason, or are you? If you want to put that in the chat, let us know. But either way, what's your take on this straight up trade? I mean, for me, I'm not willing to, it's a trade that just doesn't need to happen. I mean, both these guys are producing at a pretty elite rate. Puka's a little banged up, so you got to keep that in mind right now. So if I were to pick any of these guys at this stage, I'd have to lean JSN. But honestly, I probably wouldn't do this trade on either side. I mean, there's not a whole real point to doing. So Vince is getting Puka. So that's a challenge here, Vince, is you're in a position here where you're giving up JSN, elite target share. The passes are getting funneled to him at a pretty high rate, and I don't see that changing for the rest of the season. I don't see anybody coming in and changing that outcome. Do you there, Mad Dog?
No, it feels like a pretty lateral trade for me. I think that there's other pieces on the Rams offense that are going to determine what Puka does if he has a little bit more injuries, right? We have Devontae Adams. We've seen Tyler Higbee. We've seen Kyron Williams and Blake Corum. I think that those pieces do more than Cooper Kupp, Arroyo, and the run game do for JSN. So for right now, I just think that's an unnecessary trade. I would take the healthy player.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, I would. I'd probably be holding on to JSN, especially this week when you don't even know if Puka is going to be playing. It's an early morning game, which is another scare for me. I think it's a great line, but for sure, Vincent, I'd be holding on to JSN right now, especially if you have him. He's playing at elite rate, and I see that continuing for the rest of this season. Jamie, heartbreaker here. Got to be kidding me. I lost an easy eight leg pair parlay on a super low alternate by one freaking gain rail yard. Yeah, that's a heartbreaker, Jamie.
That's tough. I love Jamie's confidence if he can say it's an easy 8-leg parlay.
Well, if you met Jamie, he's a great guy and super savvy, and appreciate him joining us time and time again. So let's get into some other games here, Mad Dog, for the weekend. Unless you folks on the chat have got any start and sit questions for us, we are here to answer those. I love this Rams Jaguars game that could potentially be a shootout, but the one variable here, it is overseas. It is a Jags home game, essentially. They're used to playing out there. What's your thoughts on this one? The travel might be hard for Matthew Stafford, his back, some discomfort, and that's a real reality here, folks. And I'm not trying to be like, oh, this old timer, he has some issues with his back, and that's a far travel time.
It is, and I think that's a really valid response, because as much as we want to see the game grow and we have all these international games, I think that we can agree for the majority of these games are pretty underwhelming, right? You kind of circle these games and realize on your fantasy scoring that there's not going to be the massive games that we might see. And again, with Puka banged up, is Devontae Adams going to be the alpha there? They're going to try and run the ball. I think that's a very interesting game to watch.
Yeah, and there's a lot of lines there that could be over or under, and I'm trying to wrap my head around where it's going to be. And these fields, they're known to not be at the standard that the NFL home fields are. and maybe players are a little bit more hesitant to be given her on there. They don't want to risk injury, and that coupled with travel, that coupled with the scenes around and people wanting to explore via Jordan Addison, if you will. Like, I mean, that kind of stuff is a natural thing, and it's going to happen. So yeah, those are highly distractive games. So I'd be worried about my players in that one, but also be very pissed off if I didn't start one because of that fact and it goes off. So
I
um,
agree.
New England Patriots here are incredible right now, sitting in the top of their
Mhm.
division right now after a couple of big wins here. 2 weeks ago against the Bills, who are looking like a little less shade of their old selves. So Drake May acting and playing like a QB5 overall in fantasy. Do you see that sustaining for the rest of the year? Vrabel's got them playing at a pretty high level, no matter who fumbles the ball in the backfield. Um, What's your thoughts there? Like, are we going to see some Travion Henderson? And what's your outlook on Drake May rest of season now?
To go to Henderson, yeah, I think eventually they have to start working him in, right? Like if those fumbles continue for Ramondre, the noise is going to be too loud, and Vrabel is going to have to drop his stubbornness and start playing Henderson. I know that most of us in our process, we saw that Travion Henderson was such a great pass blocker in college, and it might not be translating to the NFL, but he's efficient, he's electric, he can make more big plays. I think you have to do that. It opens up more of the passing game for Drake May, who I think can also be sustainable for the rest of the year at QB5. Like we predicted this, and he's building rapport with Diggs. If it's not Diggs, it's Butte, it's Hunter Henry. Like I think this Patriots team is starting to gel and they're growing together, and this is legit. And then you add in the storyline of Vrabel returning to the Titans firing Callahan. I think this is going to be a great game to watch.
This is going to be an awesome game to watch, and I think that Drake May rest of season is somebody that I had a lot of stock going into this season on, and I'm glad that it's coming to fruition and seeing no matter who uh, is in that offense around them. I would like to see some consolidation of fantasy points
Yeah.
for us, but I don't know if that's going to happen. But outside of Drake May, I'm not really confident in starting anybody week in and week out. Outside of maybe Hunter Henry the odd week when I need a streamer, but it's going to be hard to peg who to start there unless somebody really rises above. I mean, Diggs is the guy, but I mean, we saw last week what happened. He was like maybe a push off shy of a decent game, but outside of that, I mean, you see guys like Booty pop, and then Pop
Mhm.
Douglas comes
Yeah.
in out of nowhere last game. So it's going to be hard to predict a week in and week out. So yeah, I not a huge fan of the fantasy aspect outside of Drake May. Yeah.
Yeah. Fair to say.
All right, let's continue on. Some more games to talk about. Miami, Cleveland, Judkins game. I have them as a start of the week for me. I see, this Miami defense, especially their run defense, being completely exploitable. And this could be the game that we see Judkins rush for 30 plus yards. Dylan Gabriel looked awful last week. That quarterback situation is in shambles. So where else are they going to go? To their rookies, Fannin and Judkins
Yes.
this week, I think. So
Yeah, nailed it. I love the Fannin call. I think I saw somewhere in Joku. Is he banged up? Is he for sure out?
he's banged up, and it sounds like he's going to miss. But there's also trade rumors about him too. So usually when
Mhm.
guys are kind of like banged up a little bit, and they made a point to play Fannin early here and often to see what they had in this guy. And when even Njoku was in the lineup, it's Fannin was producing, and now if the potential with him out, this is going to be a monster, home stretcher for Fannin.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more.
Yeah, and what about the other rookie tight end here that could be seeing the lion's share of that offense? Even though it is a poor offense, I'm talking about the New York Jets and Mason Taylor here. Garrett Wilson might not be playing. and there's no other real pass options outside of Brees Hall. So Justin Fields is going to be running for his life again, but we're going to be seeing potentially a game here that Mason Taylor could see upwards of 10 targets. So what's your outcome here? What's your rest of the season look on Mason Taylor?
Mason Taylor is a guy that I wish I had more shares of. I knew it. I knew it going into the season that they had Garrett Wilson and they had Brees Hall, and Mason Taylor. I think is the real deal. He finds the soft spots. He uses his leverage with that big frame to be able to reel in targets and get some yak. And I think he is going to be the play for the Jets. There's really nobody else there.
Yeah, exactly. And we got a Parenko question here. He's a St. Louis Blues fan. We know that. We're hockey fans here up in Canada, so it's always great when Parenko comes in and hangs out with us. Trevian Henderson, Tony Pollard, or Mason Taylor in a flex since Puka is probably out. I know what I got on that one. What why don't you have that one first there, and I'll pipe in afterwards there, Mad Dog.
Okay. I'm looking like that New England defense is pretty strong. I think with Tajay Spears coming back healthy, we've already seen that dip into Pollard's production a little bit. So as we just talked about, I think I'm confident running Mason Taylor as my flex option.
Me too, 100%. You hit that nail right on the head with me as well. Like I got Pollard as a sit of the week right now. Like on the forecast today, it's going to be airing tomorrow morning. Pollard's a sit of the week for me, and Mason Taylor is up there, and can't trust Treveon yet. They're Pranko, so yeah. I think this is a really good spot to start him, and you're lucky here this week because if Puka is out, you're probably going to get a good amount of production out of Mason Taylor. Not quite Puka production, I'm not going to say that, but certainly flex worthy, and you may not lose your week because of it.
Yep.
Okay,
Yep,
we got
agreed.
Parenko. Okay, so Parenko, another one. Just traded Genty for Javonte today. Feel better about the schedule and Cowboys offense. Yeah, man, I think this is a great trade for you. I was high on Genty headed in here, but that offensive line is in shambles. Geno Smith can't seem to play.
Mm-hmm.
Jacoby Myers is, wanted to trade before the season started and hasn't produced outside of this first game of the year. Brock Bowers isn't playing. Man, yeah, I think this is as tough as that is to swallow. Sometimes you gotta, what have you done for me lately? And Javonte Williams is an offense that is going to have to score points to keep up, and they just got their best weapon back, so they're going to be a lot of scoring position. So I love this trade. What's your thoughts on that one?
I couldn't agree more. Like Genty had that one big game where he had 3 scores, and he hasn't done much because the Raiders are just underperforming. Like Geno looks like he finally wrote back on that letter that everybody wrote him off for, and with CeeDee Lamb coming back, it's going to spread out the defenses against the Cowboys, and I'm confident with Javonte. They don't have Miles Sanders anymore. Jaden Blue isn't going to come in and steal a workload from Javonte Williams, so I'm happy with that trade.
Yeah, me too. Okay, there's a game that I also want to hear your input on. That's the Colts and the Chargers.
Yes.
Now, the Colts are coming off of a couple games here where they're coming back to kind of reality. Teams are kind of getting the book here on how Daniel Jones is operated. His yards per play has gone down every week since the start of the season, but that's also due to him getting some healthier guys back, shorter yardage throws, like targeting guys like Josh Downs a little bit more, and seeing guys like Alex Pierce come into play. So spreading the ball around a little bit more. Tyler Warren has been a dream for fantasy managers that were able to draft him. He could finish as the tight end 1 easily this year. It's not out of the question, and I'm not saying he could finish there easily. He could easily be in that conversation to finish as the tight end 1. And you got to think of the other side of the ball here in the Chargers, who have been fighting the injury bug, and they're looking to get even here. So, what's your thoughts on this game? How do you see it playing out? And who are some of the guys you're looking at automatic starting? Because I think this could be a very high scoring game.
I think it starts and ends with Jonathan Taylor. I think you have to go against that Chargers defense and you have to establish the run. We've seen a few of the cute red zone plays where it's handoffs to Tyler Warren or they're trying to have him throw the ball. I think this is where you go and take that stud running back and you give him as many touches as he can handle. And that's going to open things up for Daniel Jones to have more space to go and hit Michael Pittman or Josh Downs. I think that's truly what the game plan has to be, is just run the brakes right off of Jonathan Taylor.
Yeah, and what a season he's had. Some people wrote him off, and he's just been that automatic start, that red zone dominant machine, and can't say anything more. As long as he could stay healthy, I think that pace is going to continue, especially if the Colts can continue to score points at the pace they are scoring at. And one more. Let's get into maybe two more games, and then we'll hit it off for the night here. But I want to talk a little bit about the Falcons and the 49ers. And the 49ers have been pretty banged up. They may get a couple of healthy pieces back. Pearsall might be playing. Kittle might be playing. How do you see that evolving here in the offense with McCaffrey, who's just been, hyper targeted? Hopefully that opens things up for the run game, because it's been pretty much obsolete. So what's your thoughts on getting these healthy pieces back? And then we'll attack on the other side of the ball, because I really want to talk about the Falcons as well.
Okay. Yeah, I think when you get somebody like George Kittle, who has made it sound today that he's a go, like he's not getting held out of the lineup, I think that's going to open a lot of things up. Yeah, you're right. CMC hasn't been that efficient on the ground. Most of his damage has been through dump offs and plays like that. Kendrick Bourne continues to eat. I think that was an asset that we never thought was going to come out and do what he's done. Like, but he have last game, I think 150 yards.
Yes,
something like that. It was right.
It's back 142 games.
So it's massive. If you have him and you have Kittle and you go and get Purcell back, I think Mac Jones has more options that's going to spread out that Atlanta defense, who does have a very good defensive line, right? They always seem to be pressuring the quarterback. I think if you get Kittle back, that opens up that whole entire offense.
Yeah, agreed. And I think that's a great news for fantasy managers alike. And, they were able to stay competitive with the injuries. Didn't matter who was starting at quarterback, Mac Jones or Brock Purdy. And Mac Jones, I think, has played himself. Unfortunately, he signed a 2-year contract, so he didn't play himself into a job for next year, but he played himself into potentially, a solid backup, and you never know, like that could turn into something more as things progress. So Mac Jones has been a really good story, like he was last year, but the Falcons looking like they've found their groove the last couple games, and Drake London has now kind of gotten past that injury. Couple of monster games, back-to-back 100-yard games, hyper-targeted last week. I'm looking at Drake London finishing here strong and continue that dominance here. What are your thoughts on Drake London and this Falcons offense moving forward?
Well, I'm happy to see that Drake London is finally the focal point of that offense for the receivers. We're not seeing Darnell Mooney and Ray McLeod be getting targeted here. Like it's finally the alpha and doing his job that they drafted him for. I was very skeptical on somebody like Michael Penix, but the O-line's been holding up, and when he has time to throw the ball, he's finding his big target, and they're doing work. Okay.
I don't know what happened. We got bumped out. Okay. So Penix, he's finding the ball.
Yeah, there. I think like that's what they need to do. They have Bijan that is just unstoppable. He's exactly what we thought he was going to be coming to the NFL. It's a treat to be able to watch him all the time. But now that that Robinson is finally down on the field, did you see stats for that? I can't remember the splits, but coming down onto the field again, the offense has gone berserk. And it's great to see that it is all going to Drake London, because that's what this team needs to do.
Hyper target him and then let Bijan cook when he needs to in the open field. And I think this is really starting to turn around for that team, and it's looking really good for my Drake London and Bijan stakes headed into the latter half of the season. Now, Jamie's got a start and sit question, and for me, this one is a tough one, but Josh Downs is fighting a concussion right now, and it came up in practice. So I don't know if he's going to be able to pass protocol in time to play. So that's something you definitely have to monitor here. Chuba, I'm really scared about where his place is. I think he pushed himself back a little bit earlier from injury, seeing what Dowdle had done. You know what I mean? I think he doesn't want to lose his job. That's the reports I'm hearing right now, that he's still pretty banged up. And if he does play, I think it may be on limited rule. And Dowdle is going to be, like we mentioned, I think at minimum 60-40 a split at this stage, especially if you think that Hubbard is there. So, I mean, Stevenson, as much as he fumbles, and I just think that this game against the Titans is going to be well in hand. And I think they're going to be running the ball, and I'm going to bet on the touchdown upside here of Ramondre, and go with that as my play. And if Downs does start, that would be a consideration based off of last week. He was one of my waiver wire pickups that I wanted people to get onto because of the last 2 weeks. His target share is bumped. He looks like a guy that he could be relied on third down and in the red zone. So that's an important piece. But this week, I'm going to go with Stevenson based off of that injury to Downs and the uncertainty behind Hubbard.
Yeah, I think you nailed it. It's the safest floor, right? If you're looking for a flex player, like it seems like Jamie is right now, I'm taking the least volatility, and I'm going to take Stevenson on this play.
Absolutely. All right, let's get into our last game before we let our viewers go for the evening. So if you got any more questions, please come in and ask them. But this one is the game that I've got circled because I'm really interested to see how Jackson Dart responds after an incredible game against the Philadelphia Eagles, in which him and Cam Scatabo really put their stamp on the league, on their team, and pretty much completely changed the aura behind the New York Giants, and they got swagger now. They're playing with purpose, and sounds like they might even be buyers at the trade deadline. You never know. I'm not going quite that far, but after losing Malik Neighbors, I could have gone spiraled. And with that said, next year there's nothing but optimism about them, but I'm looking forward to seeing what Jackson Dart, if he's the real deal, what he can do against this Denver Broncos defense that has just been relentless. They're going to probably break the sack record of NFL single season. So this is one I've got circled on my calendar here.
Yeah, absolutely. As a Broncos fan, I was kind of had this date circled as well. The Giants are riding high after that win against the Eagles. The Broncos, as good as that defense is, it's more the secondary. It seems like the games that I've been watching, they are a little bit susceptible to the run. So I think with the volume that Scatterbo can get, he can put some work in, but I'm really looking at Jackson Dart's efficiency. I know that he doesn't have Malik Neighbors. Is this going to be a big game for Theo Johnson? Because what else do they have? Right? They have little Jordan Humphrey that I guess that's a revenge game for him. But I want to see Jackson Dart sit and actually throw the ball, not just take off and go for the run. That's going to tell me what he has moving forward. I want him to go through his progressions and see the targets. Yes, he has to go against Patrick Surtain and a defense that's going to be, getting past the offensive line in a hurry. But I'm really curious to see I think this is going to be the stamp game for Jackson Dart.
Yeah, we'll see if that swagger can really translate into something different here, because honestly, like this is the game I want to see. I don't think he's going to have any time to look downfield and find anybody, and they're going to be blanket covered anyway. So I think it's going to be him scrambling a lot. I could see him, rushing for upwards of 60, 70 yards in this one, just based off of him running for his mind. And yeah, we'll see. I moved up. Okay, well, Jamie, you're gonna have to listen to the Dynasty Pulse that's gonna air tomorrow, because I got ripped after this one, and I didn't even have my boy Biggs on it tonight with me because he was away at a concert. So I had Jackson Dart, and I moved him up to my QB7 in Dynasty. Is that too high, Jamie? You tell me, because I'm on that train too. Look at the rushing upside he brings, and he's got an elite weapon. I got castrated, so I don't know. I'm with you, Jamie. So maybe you should watch the Pulse tomorrow. It's on the top end of the section of the show, and let me know your thoughts in the comments, because yeah, Chev, Jeremiah weren't on my side here.
I think I think you guys with this, it's ambitious. It's really ambitious, and like I said, I think it goes back to we went to see these quarterbacks. We saw Drake May as a perfect example last year, right? He rushed. We thought that fantasy ceiling was there. He needed to be more efficient in the passing game, and he's done that this year. Can Jackson Dart show us that the rest of the season? And then I'll be on board with you guys moving him up that high.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not expecting him to be throwing 300 yards a game, but I think the rushing upside here, the touchdown swagger, and moving forward, what he can bring with a Malik Neighbors, that is what I'm really excited to see, and that's why I'm so high on him. And you know, in my process going into the season, I have a lot of Jackson Dart shares, so I'm not needing to like go out and attain them for an expensive price. I got them, at the tail end of the first round, where I was getting either Scatabo, Ibuka, or Dart.
Yep.
At the end of my first round, and those are the guys I was targeting. I have a ton of those guys on my lineup, and I'm all for Jackson Dart, and maybe I'm a bit too soon on the party. I'll have to see about that. But after a couple games and the swagger and maybe that reckless abandonment might catch up to him and make him injured. That was a point taken. But yeah, my aggression is there, but I don't need to go out and pay the price for him. I got him everywhere. So if I could reap those rewards, I will do so.
Absolutely.
All right, we got 1 in 5. Would you sell Ibuka for Lad? I would not be selling Ibuka. I would not be selling Ibuka. No way. Even for Lad, who's on the ascent here, even if this is Dynasty, I think Ibuka is right up there for me. I got him in my top 10 in Dynasty right now, and that's a huge tier right now. We were talking about it on the Pulse. All these wide receivers that are falling in here, and Lad, just unfortunately, what we saw this year is just falling out of that range.
Yeah, I'm with you. The way that Igbuka's catapulted himself or burst onto the scene, whatever cliche you want to use for this, like it's you have to recognize it now. It's not just a 2-game sample. And you're right, Ladd was there last year. Quentin Johnson has kind of had a coming out party, and Ladd unfortunately has lost his target share. His metrics still look good, but I think you have to put him below Igbuka at this time.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. All right, we got starting Mahomes. Yes, you are starting Mahomes, QB1 this week in my rankings. Baker or Fields? Schulte really high in Fields this week as a bounce back, and Schulte's been really on the ball with Fields this year. He called last week as a sit of the week and really crushed that one. And then 2 weeks before, the week before, called him as a start and crushed. 2 weeks before he started, but he crushed that one. So, but this week, I'm gonna go with Baker. I love I think I know he's not gonna probably have Ibuka, the weapons, and Bucky, but Mike Evans might be returning, and we can't forget about Cade Otton and what he brings to the table, and as well. Like when these guys are out, Cade Otton could come in and fill in pretty like remarkably, and I've got Cade on this week as a top 8 tight end play. So I'm not. I mean, Baker Mayfield has been proving it week in and week out, and this game against the Detroit Lions is going to be one that I think is going to be fireworks. So yeah, Baker's going to throw it, and without Garrett Wilson, I just think the floor for Fields is going to not be there with his passing. I could see him rushing for 70, 80 yards in this one, but going to need to score a touchdown or 2 on the ground in order to outscore Baker, in my opinion.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more with you. I really love the Cade Otton point. I put him in a few of my lineups where injuries have kind of put a wrinkle into my lineups, because we saw the sample size last year. It wasn't a fluke. Cade Otton was great when we didn't have Mike Evans and Godwin for parts of the season last year. So I'm with you. I'm taking Baker.
And kind of like that's been kind of what the theme of today, and we didn't even realize it until now, that like we were talking about how we're dealing with these injuries, and then we just keep going back to the tight end position when the wide receiver position has been so banged up, because we're seeing guys like Cade Otton, Mason Taylor, Harold Fannin, Dallas Goedert. All these guys are now steaming up the boards, becoming reliable wide receiver targets because of rooms that have been decimated, the wide receiver rooms that have been decimated. So maybe the solution here is go look on the waiver wire for some tight ends, because these are the guys that are looking at probably becoming first or second reads in offenses and steaming up boards here. So yeah, look at the tight end position, because this week there's quite a few of them that are playable, and I'm going to just rattle off a few of them that maybe are under the radar. Harold Fannin, Hunter Henry, Michael Mayer is another one there with potential KC being up a lot, and he's been a guy that has been targeted quite a bit. Cade Otton, Mason Taylor, and we can't forget about Darren Waller, who's been a red zone threat week in and week out. So yeah, go for tight end, folks.
Absolutely, couldn't agree more.
Awesome, man. Well, that's 50 minutes in, and what a great show. I'm going to have you on again, Mad Dog, at some point. Felt the chemistry was great there. Must be our Canadian blood. But let's get on a show or two before the end of the season and into the off season, man.
Let's do it. Thanks so much for having me.
Yeah, man. Why don't you tell everybody where to find all your awesome content, what you're doing these days, and where people can follow you, man?
Okay, guys, so you can follow me on Twitter at ff_themaddog. I'm a part of Dynasty DGens. You can hit us up on Twitter, or you can hit up myself or Fantasy Nerd Boy. We can get you into our free Discord, where we're always popping off with start sits, trade news, NFL rumors. The trade deadline is coming up, so we're always popping off in the Discord. You can find me on Player Profiler now. I've been writing a lot of the news desk pieces there. That's really been enjoyable to grow my knowledge in the game. And I've started my own show, the Mad Market Value Report, where I'm hitting you up for buys and sells for your dynasty teams throughout the season.
Awesome, man. Folks, be sure to check out Mad Dog on Player Profiler Now Plus Network. His show is airing, I think, every Wednesday, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah,
every Wednesday, 8 a.m. Eastern. Yep.
Yeah, man. Be sure to check it out. It's a quick hitting show, so it won't take up too much of your time. Maybe hit it up on your morning drive, and you'll be a lot better for it. And Jamie, we're a lot better for having you in our chat group every week, so appreciate it. Okay, one more thing. I just moved BTJ for Judkins. Did I get cooked? I was desperate for an RB. If you're desperate for an RB, I think you're okay with that one. It's a tough one. BTJ's got a couple good games here in a row, and he's getting hyper targeted. But I think Judkins has got a lot of optimism headed into this latter half of the season.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's if it's a trade where you get running backs, you did good going and getting Judkins.
And then one more. I traded Rico Dowdle and Addison for Ibuka. Please give me your thoughts. That's a tough one. If Dowdle is going to continue his trend, which a lot of people think that Troop is going to cut into that. So right now, my inkling is I like the Ibuka side of this trade, just based off of I love Ibuka.
Yeah, I think the ceiling's everything. Ibuka, you just better hope that injury is not as serious as it could be.
Exactly, and hopefully he is back after a week. Now, everybody, thanks for tuning in to PAT on FSAN on the Fantasy Sports Advice Network. Be sure to check us all out, all our awesome content there. You can find me and all my shows, the Fantasy Forecast, the Dynasty Pulse on the network, and be sure to check out the live shows tomorrow from the forum, which Mad Dog has been a guest on before. And on Sunday morning for your start and sit questions, Breakfast with Biggs, 10:30 Central AM, and then followed by Spill Coffee. So be sure to check us all out. And from all of us on the Fantasy Sports Advice Network, hope you win, folks. Peace out.
We are here. FantasySportsAdvice.com, offering the best fantasy sports social media platform. Why join endless Discord communities or the trolls of Reddit? Fantasy Sports Advice is a community designed to help you win with 24/7 support. Go to FantasySportsAdvice.com and become a pro member for unlimited access